Do not open that door. The oldest miner on Atlas, 17, whispered over the emergency channel. If they come inside, they stop being an invasion force and start being targets. By the time those words reached Captain Nathan Brooks, every escape route out of mining complex Atlas, 17, had already disappeared from the tactical display. One after another, red warning icons spread across the screen until the entire station looked like it had been dipped in crimson paint. The outer docking ring was surrounded. The cargo elevators were locked down. Long-range communications had gone silent. 11 people were trapped inside a mining facility buried deep within a drifting asteroid, and somewhere beyond layers of reinforced steel, hundreds of alien warships waited for them to panic. Nathan did not panic. He rested one hand on the operations console and watched another sensor disappear. "Status?" he asked quietly. Olivia Carter looked up from the communications terminal, frustration written across her face. "Nothing. Every relay is jammed. We cannot reach Fleet Command. Civilian traffic, nobody." Marcus Hill, the team's engineer, pulled off his work gloves and let out a slow breath. "Backup generator is holding. Water is good. Air filters are clean. If they leave us alone, we can stay alive for weeks." Nathan nodded once. "They are not going to leave us alone." A voice suddenly filled every speaker in the facility. "Smooth, confident, patient. Human personnel," the translator announced. "This is Commander Koresh of the Varkesh Dominion. Your position is completely surrounded. Lay down your weapons. Exit the facility peacefully, and your lives will be evaluated according to Dominion military protocol." Nobody answered. Nathan simply listened while studying the station blueprint projected across the table. Koresh continued, sounding almost amused. "Your situation is hopeless. There are 426 Dominion soldiers preparing to enter your facility. You have no fleet, no escape vessel, no reinforcements." Marcus looked toward Nathan. 426. Nathan finally smiled, just barely. "Interesting number." Olivia frowned. "What is?" Nathan pointed toward the map. "That means they packed them close together." She stared at him for a second before realizing exactly what he meant. "You are kidding. I wish I was." The room stayed quiet. Nobody laughed. Nobody celebrated. Everyone understood the math. 11 people against hundreds was not courage. It was insanity. Nathan knew that better than anyone. He remembered enough deployments to know that confidence usually got good people killed. He also knew fear could do the same thing if you let it make decisions for you. He looked around the room at faces that had become family over the last 8 months. Olivia was trying not to think about her husband back in Colorado. Marcus kept rubbing the wedding band on his finger without noticing. Tyler Jensen, the youngest member of the team, could not stop bouncing one knee beneath the table. None of them had signed up for a siege. They had come to investigate missing survey crews, strange equipment failures, and rumors of abandoned tunnels beneath the mine. Somehow those questions had turned into this. The speakers crackled again. "Captain Brooks," Koresh said. "We know your name. We know your record. You have fought difficult battles before. This one is different. There is nowhere left for you to run." Nathan finally pressed the transmit button. His voice stayed calm enough that it almost sounded conversational. "Commander, I am listening." Nathan looked through the thick observation window toward the endless field of warships hanging outside the asteroid. There were so many that their engine lights resembled a second sky. "You think we are trapped?" he said. "Yes." Nathan glanced back at his team before answering. "From where I am standing, all I see is a target-rich environment." Silence followed. Not inside the station. Inside the enemy transmission. Nathan released the button, folded his arms, and turned back toward the station map. "All right," he said. "Now let us find out who built this place before either side starts making expensive mistakes." Nathan let the silence settle before anyone spoke. He had learned years ago that people often filled quiet moments with bad decisions. This time, nobody rushed to break it. Olivia finally folded her arms. "Do you actually have a plan, or were you just trying to get under his skin?" Nathan looked at the station map again. "Both." Tyler leaned against the table. "Captain, with all due respect, there are hundreds of them and 11 of us." "I know exactly how many of us there are," Nathan answered. "That is why we are not going to play their game." Marcus walked over carrying an old maintenance tablet covered with scratches. "I found something strange." Nathan nodded for him to continue. Marcus expanded a decades-old construction file. Atlas 17 was never supposed to be a mining station. Olivia looked. Somebody built an entire underground structure first. The mining company simply covered it with processing equipment. Tyler frowned. Military. Marcus slowly shook his head. Too clean. Military facilities are practical. Whoever built this spent ridiculous amounts of money reinforcing sections that nobody should ever see. Nathan studied the layers beneath the mine. Corridors crossed beneath the excavation levels like veins running through stone. Massive chambers had no labels. Elevators ended in blank spaces. Entire sections had been removed from the digital records. Who erased all of this? Olivia asked. Someone with clearance, Nathan replied. Or someone who wanted people to stop asking questions. His mind drifted back 8 days earlier when the mission had begun. Officially, Terran Expeditionary Command had sent his recon team to investigate missing geological survey crews. Unofficially, intelligence believed multiple governments had quietly searched Atlas 17 over the years without ever explaining why. Nathan remembered laughing when the assignment first landed on his desk in Houston. A mining inspection? He had asked Colonel Rebecca Lawson. You did not fly me halfway across the Perseus arm to check broken drilling equipment. Lawson had slid a sealed folder across the table. Neither did I. Read page 4. Nathan opened it and found photographs from abandoned tunnels buried beneath the asteroid. None matched the station blueprints. Where did these come from, he had asked. Nobody knows, Lawson replied. 3 civilian teams disappeared after reporting underground structures. No distress calls. No wreckage. Nothing. Nathan closed the folder. And now we are the 4th team. Lawson gave him a tired smile. You are the first team trained to expect surprises. The memory faded as another vibration rolled through Atlas 17. Dust drifted from the ceiling lights. Somewhere above them, heavy machinery groaned under the pressure of ships docking against the station's outer hull. Tyler checked the seismic monitor. More transports. Olivia counted new signals appearing across the display. They are bringing in engineering crews. Marcus looked confused. Why would they need engineers? Nathan answered without looking away from the map. Because they are not here to destroy the station. They want it. Nathan nodded once. Exactly. Which means whatever is buried under our feet matters more than we do. Another transmission arrived, but this time it was shorter. Captain Brooks, Koresh said calmly. We are giving your people one final opportunity to cooperate before recovery operations begin. Nathan muted the speakers before Koresh finished. He crouched beside the oldest blueprint and traced one finger across a forgotten maintenance shaft hidden behind solid rock. It was almost invisible beneath layers of outdated revisions. Marcus, he said quietly, how long before somebody notices this tunnel does not officially exist? Marcus studied it and slowly smiled. If they are using the public maps, maybe never. Nathan stood, grabbed his flashlight, and slung his rifle across his shoulder without a trace of excitement. Good, he said. Then before they come looking for us, let us find out what they are really trying to steal. The forgotten maintenance shaft was barely wide enough for one person to walk through without turning sideways. Nathan swept his flashlight across rough steel walls coated with decades of dust. There were no company markings, no inspection tags, no maintenance records. It felt less like an abandoned tunnel and more like something that had been intentionally erased. Marcus stopped beside an ancient control panel covered in faded warning symbols. This is older than the station by a long shot, he said quietly. How old? Olivia asked. Marcus brushed away another layer of dust. 40 years at least. Maybe 50. Whoever built this used alloys that nobody minds anymore. Tyler ran his hand along the wall. So why hide it? Nathan answered without slowing down. Because people only hide things they cannot afford to lose. The tunnel sloped downward for almost half a mile before opening into a chamber none of them expected. Their flashlight beams disappeared into a cavern so large that the ceiling could barely be seen. Massive support columns stretched upward like the trunks of ancient redwood trees. Rusted rail systems crossed the floor in every direction. Silent cranes hung overhead, frozen exactly where someone had left them decades ago. Olivia let out a slow breath. This is not a bunker. No, Nathan replied. It is something much bigger. Marcus walked toward one of the machines, his boots echoing through the empty chamber. He stopped beside a control console unlike anything he had seen before. This technology does not match the mining equipment upstairs. Nathan crouched beside a thick cable running beneath the floor. Neither does the power system. Marcus looked over. It is still live. Tyler frowned. That is impossible. Not impossible, Marcus corrected. Just expensive. Olivia glanced around the chamber. You are telling me someone has been feeding electricity into this place for decades without anyone asking questions. Nathan nodded, which means somebody always knew it was here. Before anyone could answer, a low vibration rolled beneath their feet. It was steady, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat waking after a long sleep. Tyler instinctively reached for his flashlight. Did everybody feel that? Marcus was already checking the portable scanner. Power levels just jumped. Olivia looked toward Nathan. Did we trigger something? Nathan slowly turned toward the far end of the chamber. Beyond the darkness, a single strip of white light flickered to life. Then another. Then another. One by one, old ceiling lights stretched into the distance until a pathway appeared where moments earlier there had been nothing but darkness. Nobody spoke. The station itself seemed to be waking up. Marcus whispered, "Nobody has touched this place in years." "Maybe not," Nathan said softly. "But something has been waiting." At that exact moment, Commander Koresh stood aboard the Dominion flagship watching engineering teams cut through Atlas 17's upper access doors. One of his officers stepped beside him. "Commander, our scanners have detected unusual energy fluctuations beneath the mining complex." Koresh barely looked away from the tactical display. "Natural geothermal instability. The readings are increasing. Ignore them." The officer hesitated. "Sir, should we wait before deploying the recovery teams?" Koresh folded his hands behind his back. 11 isolated humans cannot threaten 400 trained personnel. They are buying time because they have no alternatives. Back beneath the asteroid, Nathan continued following the newly illuminated path. His instincts told him the lights were not responding to motion. They were responding to presence. Someone had designed this place to recognize visitors. The question that bothered him was simple. They had not recognized the Dominion forces outside. They had recognized the humans first. Nathan stopped in front of a sealed vault, door nearly 30 feet tall. There was no keypad, no handle, no visible mechanism. Only one sentence engraved into the metal in plain English. He stared at the words for several long seconds before quietly reading them aloud. Authorized Terran personnel only. For several seconds, nobody moved. The words carved into the massive steel door seemed almost unreal, as though they belonged to another lifetime. Tyler finally broke the silence. Terran personnel only? That has to be some kind of joke. Marcus slowly shook his head. The lettering is original. It was not added later. Olivia looked at Nathan. "Captain, this place was built before the Alliance even existed." Nathan stepped closer, running his fingers across the cold metal. The letters were worn smooth from age, yet every edge remained perfectly defined, which means somebody planned much farther ahead than we ever realized. Behind them, another low vibration rolled through the chamber. This time it lasted longer. Hidden machinery somewhere beneath the floor quietly came alive. Soft white lights continued illuminating corridors stretching deeper into the underground complex, revealing rows of equipment hidden beneath protective covers. None of it resembled mining hardware. Marcus walked toward one of the covered shapes and carefully pulled back a corner of the heavy fabric. Underneath sat an enormous industrial machine built around magnetic rails thicker than highway guardrails. "This explains the power draw," he whispered. Whatever this place was designed for, it needed an incredible amount of electricity. Nathan studied the machine without touching it. "Leave everything exactly as it is." Olivia glanced back toward the tunnel they had entered through. "Commander Koresh will not wait forever." Almost on cue, every communicator clipped to their uniforms chimed at once. The Dominion signal had forced its way through the station again. Koresh sounded even calmer than before. "Captain Brooks, my engineers have entered your upper maintenance levels. Your people have conducted themselves professionally. I respect that. There is no reason for unnecessary suffering. Walk out peacefully, and your team will receive fair treatment." Tyler rolled his eyes. "That sounds generous." Nathan muted the transmission again. "He is not talking to us." Olivia frowned. Who is he talking to? His own officers. Nathan looked around the chamber. He wants them to believe this operation is under control. Marcus slowly smiled. Which means it probably is not. Above them, the The Dominion engineering teams spread through the abandoned processing levels. Their scanners mapped every hallway they could access. Every reading pointed downward. One officer approached Koresh with fresh data. "Commander, we have located multiple sealed shafts beneath the mining facility. They do not appear on any colonial records." Koresh folded his hands behind his back. "Excellent. Secure every entrance." "Should we investigate immediately?" "No. We move carefully. Whatever the humans came here to find is almost certainly below us." Back inside the underground chamber, Nathan continued studying the enormous vault door. There was no visible control panel anywhere along its surface. Then Olivia noticed something unusual. "Captain." She pointed toward a narrow section beside the frame. Hidden beneath years of dust sat a small rectangular plate no larger than a notebook. Marcus gently brushed it clean. Instead of advanced alien technology, they found something almost disappointingly ordinary. A fingerprint scanner. Tyler laughed once in disbelief. "You have got to be kidding me." Marcus looked from the scanner to the words engraved above it. Simple systems usually last the longest. Nathan stood quietly, remembering Colonel Lawson sliding that classified folder across the table back in Houston. She had never mentioned a buried facility. She had never mentioned forgotten Terran construction. Either she had not known, or someone had intentionally kept that information above her clearance level. Nathan placed his hand against the scanner. Nothing happened. He waited another second. Still nothing. Then a soft green light slowly spread beneath his palm. Somewhere beyond the 30-foot vault door, ancient locking mechanisms began disengaging one after another with deep metallic echoes that had not been heard in decades. No one spoke. Every member of the team instinctively took one slow step backward as the enormous door began moving on its own. The vault door did not swing open all at once. It moved with deliberate precision, as if every gear inside had spent decades waiting for one specific moment. A cool stream of clean air drifted out from the darkness beyond, carrying none of the stale smell everyone expected. Marcus looked genuinely unsettled. "That is impossible. This place has been sealed for decades." Nathan stepped across the threshold first. "Stay together." Their flashlights barely mattered now. Soft ceiling lights stretched through another corridor lined with polished steel walls that looked untouched by time. Dust covered the floor outside the vault, but inside there was almost none. Tyler whispered, "Somebody maintained this." "Or something did," Olivia answered. They entered a circular command room surrounded by large display panels. Every screen remained dark except one. As Nathan approached the center console, the room suddenly came alive. Lights flickered across dozens of monitors. Old projectors hummed quietly. A calm artificial voice echoed through hidden speakers. "Terran Continuity Facility, Atlas 17. Identity confirmed. Welcome, Captain Nathan Brooks." Tyler stared at Nathan. "It knows your name." Nathan frowned. "It should not." Marcus hurried toward another terminal. "Captain, this system has no external network connection. It could not have downloaded your personnel file." Before anyone could say another word, a holographic image appeared above the central console. It showed an elderly man wearing an outdated Terran Navy uniform that none of them recognized. His face carried the calm expression of someone recording a message he hoped nobody would ever need to watch. "If you are seeing this," the officer began, "then Earth has once again been forced to remember why these facilities were built." Olivia exchanged a confused look with Marcus. The recording continued. "My name is Admiral William Mercer. This archive was sealed under Continuity Directive 7 following the Orion withdrawal. Should Terran personnel regain access, assume diplomatic containment has failed." Tyler quietly asked, "What is the Orion withdrawal?" Marcus slowly shook his head. "I have never heard of it." Nathan kept watching without speaking. The Admiral continued, "The structures beneath Atlas 17 were never intended to wage war. Their purpose was deterrence. History has a way of repeating itself. Civilizations often mistake restraint for weakness. When that happens, they usually make the same mistake." The recording suddenly paused. Every monitor switched to a live tactical display of the mining station above. Red markers flooded the upper levels. Dominion engineering teams had reached the first maintenance junctions. One group stopped outside the concealed tunnel Nathan and his team had used only minutes earlier. Olivia's expression tightened. They found the entrance. Marcus checked another screen. "Not exactly. He enlarged the image. The Dominion engineers were standing in front of solid rock. The hidden passage no longer appeared to exist. Tyler blinked twice. That is the same wall we walked through. No, Nathan replied quietly. It is the same location. Marcus stared at the display in disbelief. The tunnel moved. Before anyone could process what that meant, warning indicators flashed across the command center. A pleasant computerized voice announced, "Unauthorized excavation detected. Defensive architecture entering observation mode." Nathan immediately looked toward Marcus. Observation mode. Marcus raised both hands. I have absolutely no idea what that means. Hundreds of feet above them, Commander Koresh watched another report arrive from his lead engineer. "Commander," the officer said carefully, "our mapping drones have lost the lower access corridor." Koresh frowned. "Lost it? The corridor no longer matches our scans from 8 minutes ago." Another officer interrupted before Koresh could respond. "Sir, the first reconnaissance team has missed 2 scheduled check-ins." Koresh remained composed, but his eyes narrowed for the first time since the operation had begun. "Send another team to verify their position." Back inside the hidden command center, Nathan looked across the glowing tactical map, slowly redrawing itself in real time. The underground complex was changing. Hallways shifted, bulkheads sealed and reopened elsewhere. Routes appeared where none had existed moments earlier. Nathan finally understood why nobody had ever found the missing survey teams. This place had never been abandoned. It had simply decided who it wanted to let inside. The command center remained almost unnervingly quiet while the underground complex continued rewriting itself around them. Nathan watched corridors disappear from the tactical display only to reappear somewhere else a few seconds later. Nothing moved randomly. Every change followed a pattern that felt deliberate. Marcus leaned closer to one of the consoles, his fingers hovering above the controls without touching them. "Captain, this system is making decisions on its own." Nathan kept studying the map. "No, somebody programmed it to make decisions a very long time ago." Olivia crossed her arms. "Can we control it?" "Not yet," Marcus admitted. "Right now it is only recognizing us." Another notification appeared across the central display. Environmental pathways adjusted. Internal access priorities updated. Civilian safety protocols inactive. Terran reconnaissance protocols active. Tyler looked from one screen to another. "It keeps calling us reconnaissance personnel instead of military." Nathan nodded slowly. "Because whoever built this expected scouts to arrive first." Before anyone could think about what that meant, another transmission interrupted the silence. This one did not come from Commander Koresh. It came from somewhere inside the facility itself. "Captain Brooks," the artificial voice said calmly, "historical archive restoration is now available." A new hologram appeared above the console. Admiral William Mercer returned, but this recording looked different. He seemed older, more tired. "If you have reached this archive," he said, "then events have unfolded exactly as our analysts predicted. Another expanding civilization has mistaken humanity's restraint for permanent weakness. They always do." Nathan listened without saying a word. The purpose of Atlas 17 was never to destroy our enemies. It was built to buy Earth time. Every corridor, every power conduit, every structural wall was designed to slow larger invading forces while preserving the lives of defending personnel. Remember this above everything else. The facility is not your weapon. Time is your weapon. The recording ended. Marcus quietly repeated the last sentence. "Time is your weapon." Nathan finally smiled. "Now that sounds like something a logistics officer would say." Olivia looked at him. "You have an idea?" Nathan pointed toward the tactical display. "Koresh believes numbers win battles. This place was designed to punish large formations. So we stopped thinking like defenders." Tyler caught on first. "We become guides." Nathan nodded. "Exactly. We decide where they go." Hundreds of feet above them, Commander Koresh received another report. His chief engineer sounded noticeably less confident than before. "Commander, our mapping drones continue losing internal references. Bulkheads appear where none existed. Several maintenance corridors no longer connect to each other." Koresh remained composed. "Mechanical failures." "Perhaps, sir." However, the officer hesitated. "Our third reconnaissance element has also failed to report." Koresh turned toward the tactical display. 3 small blue icons had disappeared from the map. "No distress calls." No emergency beacons. Simply gone. One of his senior advisors lowered his voice. Commander, perhaps the humans understand this structure better than expected. Koresh dismissed the suggestion immediately. Impossible. They arrived less than 2 weeks ago. Back inside the hidden command center, Nathan carefully examined another section of the blueprint. He noticed narrow maintenance loops connecting dozens of larger corridors. They were too small for heavy equipment, but perfect for moving small teams unseen. Marcus, he said quietly, can this system isolate sections without hurting anyone? Marcus searched the engineering menus for several long seconds before looking up. Yes. Blast doors, pressure routing, lighting, elevators. It can redirect movement almost anywhere. Nathan folded his arms. Good. Then from this point forward, nobody chases us. Olivia understood immediately. They only go where we allow them to go. Nathan looked across his exhausted team. Fear was still there. So was uncertainty. But something else had quietly replaced the feeling of being cornered. They no longer felt like survivors waiting for rescue. For the first time since the blockade began, they understood the battlefield better than the force surrounding it. The first move surprised everyone because nothing happened. Nathan deliberately left entire sections of the underground complex quiet. No alarms. No locked doors. No dramatic countermeasures. He wanted Commander Koresh to believe the humans had finally accepted reality. Olivia watched the tactical display with growing curiosity. You were giving them exactly what they asked for. Nathan nodded. People trust good news faster than bad news. Marcus adjusted the routing controls. I can open Corridor 12. Do it. A narrow passage illuminated on the Dominion scanners above. Within minutes, Koresh received the report he had been waiting for. Commander, we have recovered a stable route leading deeper underground. Koresh allowed himself the smallest smile. Finally, his operations officer looked relieved. Shall we advance the recovery teams? Yes. Maintain discipline. Secure every chamber. The humans are retreating. Back inside the command center, Tyler looked at the same corridor highlighted on the tactical map. They took the bait. Nathan quietly corrected him. They accepted an invitation. The first Dominion units entered the restored passage without resistance. Their scanners showed stable air pressure, solid structural integrity, and no visible threats. Every few hundred feet, they found another open doorway waiting for them. To Koresh, the pattern suggested frightened defenders abandoning ground faster than his forces could occupy it. Nathan saw something completely different. Every open corridor narrowed the enemy's choices. Every unlocked door quietly removed another escape route. Marcus monitored dozens of environmental systems at once. Pressure remains stable. Power consumption is climbing. Olivia glanced toward the old industrial systems buried beneath the complex. Conveyor rails began humming softly. Freight elevators descended on their own. Massive cargo platforms shifted into standby positions after decades of silence. The station is helping us, she whispered. Nathan shook his head. It is following procedures. Another message appeared across the central console. Automated logistics network restored. Internal cargo movement available. Tyler frowned. Cargo movement. Marcus suddenly understood. Captain, this entire facility was built around moving equipment, not fighting battles. Nathan smiled. Exactly. Everything here was designed to move thousands of tons safely through narrow spaces. Olivia looked across the maze of tunnels displayed on the screen. So the transportation system controls the entire complex. Marcus quickly opened another engineering diagram. Magnetic rail carts. Automated cranes. Lift platforms. Rotating storage bays. Every piece connected into one enormous logistical machine hidden beneath the asteroid. This is not a bunker, Marcus said. It is the largest warehouse I have ever seen. Nathan folded his arms. And warehouses are built to control traffic. Hundreds of feet above them, Koresh continued receiving encouraging updates. First corridor secured. Second checkpoint clear. No human contact. His advisors relaxed as more blue icons spread deeper into the underground structure. One officer even allowed himself a quiet laugh. Perhaps they finally realized resistance serves no purpose. Koresh remained cautious, but even he began believing the operation had turned in his favor. Maintain pressure, he ordered. They are running out of places to hide. At that exact moment, one of the reconnaissance officers noticed something unusual. Commander, report. Every squad is making excellent progress. Koresh nodded impatiently. That is hardly unusual. The officer hesitated before continuing. No, sir. I mean every squad is following a different route. Yet all of them are somehow moving toward the same destination. Silence settled across the Dominion command deck. Koresh leaned closer to the tactical display. The colored paths converged almost perfectly toward one enormous chamber buried near the center of the underground complex. He narrowed his eyes. Did we order that? No, Commander. Far below, Nathan watched the same convergence unfold on his own screen. 11 humans stood quietly around the glowing map while hundreds of enemy personnel unknowingly walked exactly where the ancient facility wanted them to go. Nathan took one slow breath before speaking. Good. Now we stop leading them. The room at the center of the underground complex was far larger than any of them had imagined. Nathan studied the enormous circular chamber, while dozens of blue icons representing Dominion teams slowly drifted toward it from every direction. Nobody on the enemy side appeared to realize they were no longer choosing their own routes. Olivia folded her arms. They are almost all here. Marcus glanced at another monitor. The facility keeps adjusting doors behind them. If they try to retrace their steps, they will not find the same corridors. Tyler let out a quiet whistle. This place does not trap people. It separates them. Nathan nodded once. That was the point. A new message appeared across the main display. Logistics demonstration sequence available. Manual authorization required. Marcus looked confused. Demonstration? Nathan walked toward the console. Engineers build prototypes before they build factories. Maybe this entire place started as a test site. The artificial intelligence responded immediately. Historical note. Atlas 17 served as a strategic mobility laboratory. Objective: move personnel and industrial cargo through contested environments while minimizing casualties. Olivia smiled faintly. So this was never designed to fight wars. No, Nathan replied. It was designed to keep people alive during them. Hundreds of feet above, Commander Koresh noticed something that finally made him uneasy. His tactical display no longer updated in real time. Small delays began appearing between squad reports. Then another officer stepped forward carrying a data slate. Commander, every team reports stable conditions, but none can establish line-of-sight communication with neighboring units. Koresh frowned. How is that possible? They are only a few hundred feet apart, yet each believes it is operating alone. Koresh looked back toward the holographic map. The formation that had appeared organized only minutes earlier now looked strangely fragmented. It was as though invisible walls had quietly grown between every squad. Order an immediate regroup. We already have, Commander. And the officer hesitated. They are all following the regroup order, but each squad believes the regroup point is in a different direction. Silence spread across the command deck. For the first time since arriving at Atlas 17, Koresh realized the facility itself might be influencing the operation. Back inside the hidden command center, Marcus activated another engineering overlay. Conveyor systems beneath the chamber began moving with smooth precision. Heavy cargo platforms quietly shifted into new positions. Rotating storage racks turned several degrees before locking into place again. Nothing looked dangerous. Everything looked ordinary. Tyler stared at the display. We are just moving equipment. Nathan answered calmly. Exactly. Nobody questions warehouse machinery. Olivia finally understood. Every adjustment changes the routes without anyone noticing. Marcus smiled. The facility never has to force them anywhere. It simply makes one path easier than another. Nathan rested both hands on the console. Good design never argues with people. It lets them believe the decision was theirs. Another alert appeared. External excavation suspended. Dominion engineering activity decreasing. Tyler looked surprised. They stopped cutting through the upper levels. Nathan nodded toward the tactical display. Because they think they are making progress underground. One final notification illuminated the center of the screen. Central Logistics Chamber fully occupied. Automated traffic routing complete. Nathan took a slow breath and looked at his exhausted team. They had not fired a shot. They had not outrun the Dominion. They had simply stayed patient while an old Terran facility quietly convinced an invading force to walk exactly where centuries of careful planning expected them to be. Commander Koresh stood in complete silence as the tactical display slowly stabilized. The underground maze had stopped changing. The missing corridors returned. The moving walls settled into their original positions. One by one, his scattered units began checking in again. They were exhausted, confused, and standing in places none of them believed they had chosen. No equipment had been destroyed. No large battle had taken place. Yet the operation had completely unraveled. His senior advisor looked across the bridge. "Commander, the humans never actually fought us." Koresh continued staring at the screen. "No," the advisor hesitated. "Then how did they stop an entire expedition?" Koresh answered without taking his eyes off the map. "They understood the ground better than we understood ourselves." Deep beneath Atlas 17, another message appeared inside the command center. External blockade dispersing. Dominion recovery vessels departing. Immediate threat level reduced. Tyler finally let out a breath he felt like he had been holding for hours. "That is it." Marcus smiled with tired disbelief. "That is it." Olivia looked toward Nathan. "We actually made them leave." Nathan slowly shook his head. "No, they decided to leave." Nobody argued. They all knew there was a difference. The old facility had never tried to punish anyone. It had quietly demonstrated that continuing forward would only waste more time, more resources, and more confidence. Sometimes that lesson was stronger than any battlefield victory. The artificial intelligence spoke one final time. Continuity Directive 7 complete. Terran personnel successfully preserved. Mission objective achieved. Marcus looked around the silent chamber. All these years, this place stayed hidden, just waiting for someone to remember why it existed. Nathan rested one hand against the old console, not waiting for someone to fight. He looked across the enormous room that generations of people had built without expecting recognition, waiting for someone to think. Several hours later, emergency communication satellites finally reconnected with the outside network. Fleet Command received Nathan's first transmission. Colonel Rebecca Lawson appeared on the screen, relief obvious across her face. "Captain Brooks, we have been trying to reach you for almost 12 hours. Report." Nathan glanced at his team before answering. "Mission complete." Lawson looked surprised. "Enemy casualties?" Nathan thought about the question for a moment. "None that I can confirm." "Equipment losses?" "Minimal." Lawson leaned forward. "Then why did the Dominion withdraw?" Nathan looked through the observation window toward the stars beyond the asteroid. The enemy fleet was already disappearing into the darkness, one ship after another, because they finally realized they were searching for the wrong prize. After the official reports were filed, Atlas 17 was quietly sealed once again. Public records continued describing it as nothing more than an abandoned mining facility. Most people would never learn what rested beneath its foundations, and Nathan was perfectly comfortable with that. Some places did not exist to impress history. They existed to protect the future without asking for applause. Years later, young officers would occasionally ask Captain Nathan Brooks what the hardest battle of his career had been. They always expected stories about impossible odds or dramatic last stands. He always gave them the same answer. "The hardest battles are the ones where your pride begs you to fight, but your responsibility tells you to think first." Most of them needed a moment before they understood. The best victories rarely come from proving you are stronger than your opponent. They come from refusing to become the person your opponent expected. Long after the names of fleets and commanders had faded into forgotten archives, one lesson from Atlas 17 continued to endure inside every quiet professional who heard the story. Restraint is never the absence of strength. It is the discipline to use strength only when wisdom leaves no better choice.